Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. This article, I have tried to film about it multiple times. I'm struggling because it's very much, this is fat acceptance on the defense. So I've already read it a couple times. I'm starting to get mad at this article because it's so confusing to me and it's hard to respond to because it's basically what I think this writer is doing is she is trying her hardest to defend fat acceptance right now. So I want us to look at this because this article, in my opinion, it's kind of like this bizarre mental puzzle where she's trying to attach fatness to anything to get you to not change your mind. It's like a desperate reach, a desperate grab at don't let this go. Do not. And unfortunately, I think it will be effective for a lot of people. So we do need to talk about it. We need to read this article. I need to read this article. I need to beat this article. This article has stumped me a couple times. So I even struggle sometimes as an activist because this one is a little bit more challenging to me anyways. So let's take this together. Let's go through it and let's deal. So the first thing I want you to understand is remember fat acceptance is not political. They often try to pretend to be political. So what we saw a lot in 2020, in 2021, 2022 was fat was conflated with race. A lot. It was leaned into very, 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 very heavily. So now in 2024 and 2025, they are really pushing that fatness is womanhood. I've noticed that. I saw that. I noticed it with the Virgie Tovar interview, that podcast. I've seen it. That happened, I think it was late 2023-ish, around that time. So she was already planning this. I think a lot of probably the higher ups in fat acceptance, they were planning this shift for now. So I want you guys to remember, they do plan this stuff. This stuff is not all random. I think that there's this idea that fat acceptance is just a random hodgepodge thing that people just throw together, but it isn't. A lot of it is intentional. There are leaders within it, and there are ways in which it's pushed. So right now, because they clearly lost on the issue of race, now they are shifting towards women. So now it's fatness is women. Fatness is womanhood. That's the new narrative that they're going with. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's look at this article. I just want you guys to not get distracted by this article, as she's going to use a lot of things. She's going to really try to tug at your heartstrings. She's going to try to bring your memory back to the 90s or 2000s or whatever. She's trying to do it. But she is just trying to make sure that you don't change your mind on this, or she's trying to suck you back in. So again, this, in my opinion, most of these articles, is nothing more than E followed by the letter D, reinforcement. That's all it is. It's dressed up in a feminist way with all this language and that type of stuff, but that's all it is. So let's get into it. Okay? There is one word that describes the language of the body positive movement since the 2010s, thin. Like many of the social campaigns popular 10 years ago, the movement originally began in the mid-20th century as a radical fat acceptance campaign, but in its modern iteration sold the comparatively simple message that women felt bad about how they looked because of how they were perceived by society, and that this shouldn't be the case. To resolve this issue, this movement hung itself upon a series of messages which purported to champion all bodies and divert the male gaze, empowering women to see themselves, no matter how they looked, as attractive and quote-unquote worthy. Quote, do what makes you feel good. Quote, all bodies are beautiful. Quote, my size is not my worth. Quote, my health is not reflected in my weight. Quote, society can't tell me what healthy looks like. We were told these vague platitudinal statements were subversive rallying cries, signaling of a shifting culture that was beginning to accept new, gentler standards of beauty in the mainstream. These quotes are nothing more, honestly, than E followed by the letter D logic inversed or flat out, like overtly. So like this one, my health is not reflected in my weight. That is a toxic ritualistic mindset, just flat out. But some of these, they are inversions of it. So like a lot of people that have the disorder, they view themselves as unattractive and unworthy. So it's the affirmation is the exact opposite in a way to try to solve that, which is, in my opinion, I understand the sentiment of it, but the whole actual issue is that you're so obsessed with it. So if you're constantly repeating affirmations, the obsession isn't done. You're just trying to paint the obsession with your body with a lighter shade, basically, or a different color. That's all it is. When you should be trying to tear out the wall. Okay? Basically, that's what's really going on here, in my opinion, when it comes to these types of mantras. And like I said, some of these are flat out toxic ritualistic. So I think the issue that this writer has with body positivity is that it wasn't really any one thing. It was a lot of things. And my feelings about body positivity is that it was kind of like a bomb that blew up, exploded on the internet, and just totally shifted everything around this issue, particularly in the photosphere. It just shifted things, with some people taking positive messages from the movement where they didn't see themselves just as their weight anymore, which is a very positive thing. And so they were like, I'm going to live my life. Even if I'm fat, I'm going to go live my life. That was a positive thing. However, from that starting point, you can end up in two totally different places. You can think, I'm going to live my life, even if I'm fat. You can go from that to leaving the toxic ritualistic, or you can go from that to going further within. Fat acceptance is going further within, and a lot of people went that way after body positivity exploded. So that's how I view it. I just think it was just a decentralized type of thing with a lot of different voices, a lot of different people talking about it in different ways. And that's basically all it was. It wasn't necessarily about fat acceptance, but again, fat acceptance came in, made it about them, and then it became less popular over time, because I think, honestly, in part because fat acceptance activists are really off-putting and really nasty and horrible, which I know that's harsh to say, but I'm just going to be real. They are very, very unlikable, majorly so. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. The accessibility of this language meant it could be understood and adopted by millions. It was fundamentally flexible and spread quickly in quotable slogans online. Yeah, I think because it was ultimately uncontroversial. Which, because it was uncontroversial, it was easy to market, and it was like she said, a lot of short slogans that are easy to kind of just say, but it doesn't do that much other than unleash chaos, essentially, in the photosphere, which is what happened. But there's some good that came out of it. I don't think I would be where I am today if body positivity hadn't happened, because it was those ideas that ultimately led me to live my life and go out more and do things, along with a lot of other stuff around the time. And that's ultimately how I got to the answer, or the way out of these issues. which now I'm showing, you know. So I don't think it's all bad, but it's also not all good. To me, it's just random. But let's continue. Let's see. These messages appeared on brightly colored tote bags in brush lettered fonts, in lightweight Instagram infographics teaching us that stretch marks were okay, and became the basis of ad campaigns which featured women of different sizes, almost always white, light-skinned, and able-bodied women, who were most of the time also extremely beautiful. At the time, this movement did receive some feminist blowback for the shallowness of its messaging, particularly the brands which capitalized on its popularity to sell lotion and skincare. But while few argued that diet culture was being solved by these statements, many sincerely thought the popularity of these ideas was moving us rapidly in the right direction, that thanks to this movement, people were having their minds changed, and we were more accepting of non-thin bodies. I think that it was all of it, basically. It was everything. It was everything all at once. That's what it was. In the last few years, though, the movement began to be seriously critiqued as we noticed that despite its proclaimed success, body positivity hadn't shifted culture radically or really at all. Many noted how diffuse this language was, arguing that a better effort would be placed on promoting ideas like body neutrality or the devaluation of beauty, reducing the social cachet of thinness and beauty and rendering them fortunate quirks like having the natural ability to sing or being good at a particular sport. See, this statement in particular, I have a hard time with this sentence. I feel like there's something off about it. It's hard to figure out. But I will say I do agree with body neutrality, which I call it something different. I call it I've started to shift how I talk about it. I talk about de-emotionalizing or not obsessing over it, because that obsession is what's dangerous. Because a lot of people that don't have these issues, they don't understand how obsessed people that have them actually are. Like, it's extreme. So, I mean, we see it within fat acceptance. Like, everything goes back to their body. Everything goes back to how they look. Every single thing, no matter what, goes back to how they look. That's how you can tell. And I just pointed it out because, again, I used to be the same way. So I can see it plain as day. Be like, hey, look at how obsessed they are. So I do agree with body neutrality. The devaluation of beauty, that one, I don't know if I agree with that one. I will say this. I think that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I don't think there's anything wrong with pursuing beauty. I do think it can be dangerous at times. Obviously, I think you have to not be insane about it. And I think that you have to just kind of accept how you are, you know, in terms of that. And you can work to improve it or not or whatever, but these are all your choice. So I don't know I don't know how productive it is to try to control other people's views of beauty, which I feel like is what she was saying people should advocate for. I find that to be strange, but I think we all view it differently for ourselves, because at the end of the day, there are going to be certain factors that are seen as more attractive or less attractive by the majority of people, but it's still quite subjective too. So I just think it's strange. I feel like if you try to enforce a devaluation, it's like you're trying to control or like I think they'll end up bashing a lot of people. I just think it's kind of bad. I think it's a bad idea. I'll put it to you that way. I think it's bad. I think saying something like, let's not let corporate media decide what's attractive for us. That's a good idea. Let's remember that what's attractive to us may not be attractive to every other person in the whole world, and that's okay. That's a good idea, right? Let's remember that in the vast majority of cases, we're not all trying to screw the entire world. The only thing that matters, or the tension that exists, is wanting somebody that doesn't want you. That's all. So it's like, just move along and you'll find the person you want that wants you back eventually, you know? That's how I view it anyway. I just think that message tripped me up because I was thinking about it, and it's like she's hitting that because she wants to push a button that a lot of women have, because it's definitely an issue. And she's trying to push that button to try to whip you into accepting fat acceptance again. And I think it's wrong. I think it's really wrong. So just be very careful of this. This messaging may come up. This messaging may come up more in the coming year. Because I hate to say it, but I think this might be kind of effective for them. Which means they're probably going to do it. Hopefully they're not watching me. But just be careful. And I need to think about what I'm going to do with this messaging. Because I'm a little bit stumped. They got a good one there. Let me know what you guys think too. I definitely would appreciate ideas on this. That stumped me a little bit. And I'm just like, ooh, no. That's what they're going to do. Whew. So anyways, let me know what you guys think about that. I really would appreciate your perspectives because I need to figure it out. So I think that's the direction they're going. Okay. Ultimately, the problem became clear that by watering down complex concepts around our complex relationship to body image, it never seriously contended with any of them, while at the same time making it easier for anyone to utilize these bland messages to push their own aims. So remember too, I don't like the way this sentence is. See, I think there's something dark about this article. Like there's just, I don't know. It's kind of insidious. So remember, not everybody has a complex relationship to body image. Not even all women have that. It's not true. Remember, this is a part of the disorder when it comes to the weight-related issue. If it comes to other stuff, like you don't like your nose or body dysmorphia, it can kind of be different, right? But that's literally also a mental health issue, mental illness, right? So we need to remember that your average person doesn't necessarily have a super complex relationship to their body image. That's a projection. And she's trying to convince you that if you're tortured about this, it's normal to be, that you always will be, that everyone is, that all women are. That's not true. It isn't true. You don't have to be. You don't. I'll be your albatross. I'll tell you, you don't have to. That's not true. You don't have to be tortured about this. Okay? Don't. Ugh. Gosh. Do not let. Ugh. I hate that. So be careful. Like I said. I think it's good I'm reading this because I think they're going to do this stuff a lot. So. They're really going to make me have to be the whole ass albatross all year. I can tell. Gosh. Anyways, okay. Let's see. That's okay. I am the albatross. It's in my blood. It's just me forever. Anyways. It never seriously contended with any of them, while at the same time making it easy for anyone to utilize these bland messages to push their own aims. Okay. Now in 2024, now 2025, we have reached the logical conclusion of this movement, a point where this blurry language can be used to promote the exact beauty standards it set out to disrupt. We've heard about the revival of heroin chic since 2022 and have had thinly veiled fear-mongering around health issues as a vehicle to promote weight loss. Thinly veiled. Fuck you. Sorry, that just got a little personal. Fuck this writer. I almost died. Remember, these people don't have empathy. So always remember that. That's snaky behavior. This is, I want to call it evil, but I don't want to do that because it's too much for this channel. I don't like to frame things that way. But this person, man, I think I might have to pull out this for the article today. Thinly veiled. How many people have died in fat acceptance? Quite a bit, huh? Quite a bit. How thinly veiled is that? Disgusting. Thinly veiled fear-mongering around health issues as a vehicle to promote weight loss since the pandemic. Yes, because the pandemic disproportionately affected obese individuals. I wonder what kind of a reality check that could bring into the picture. This person is nasty. I'm telling you. Just be careful with this stuff, because I know there's a lot of tough women out there. And I know I'm definitely, I'm super femmy, but I can still be disagreeable as hell and a bitch, honestly, if I need to be. But I'm going to need a lot of y'all tough women out there. I need you to fight this too, because they're coming after the girls hard. Okay? And this person is just, no, very sneaky. Sneak. I don't know. Oh gosh, sorry. It's just, I can't stand it. I just can't. It's horrible. Okay, be it gut health or high cortisol levels, okay? Because those things don't exist, right? No, they don't. High cortisol levels have nothing to do with obesity. They don't increase your risk of cancer. They don't increase your risk for developing diabetes. They don't increase anything. It doesn't matter. They don't exist. Gut health doesn't matter either. Gut health doesn't exist. Stupid. But this year, these factors coalesced and compounded to the point where the language and teachings of the body positive movement were fully adopted by the diet industry. We've seen a sharp shift where companies, influencers, and random individuals are advocating women practice self-care, prioritize their health and mental well-being, and redefine beauty by making their bodies fit the narrow standards society has set for them. See, they're really going to lean into beauty. Because to me, these two are crazy. I think most people will hear that and they'll be like, what the hell are you talking about? Practicing self-care it's a bad thing to advocate for women to take care of themselves, or it's a bad thing to tell women to prioritize their health. I mean, that's what she's saying here. She's really unhinged. Redefine beauty, though. That one, I feel like it might stick. So again, I think I need to reflect on my messaging around this issue, and I think I need your help. I need you guys to help me too. I think we all need to think about this because I think they're going to lean into that. So that one I think might stick. Because this idea, making their bodies fit the narrow standards society has set for them, that will hit a chord with a lot of women. And the issue is that it's conflating, you know, a ridiculous standard of being way too thin, you know, or not acknowledging any variation in like frame size, for example, being wide framed versus small framed, or, you know, narrow framed. There's no acknowledgement of the difference between that versus being 400 pounds. So I think my first thought is we really need to create more of a split in that, because I do think one of those things is important. There is such a thing as body variation, but only to a certain point. So we have to widen that gap. That's what I'm going to do. I'm thinking. So I'm also planning while I read this stuff, because I think we need to see what they're cooking. You can see this in the endless number of ways we have now normalized speaking about women's bodies. The boom in Ozempic among young women of a healthy weight is being framed as a feminist choice, promoted as an empowering way to escape narrow beauty standards by finding an easier way to meet them. This year has been marked by a litany of social media trends obsessed with aging and beauty, celebrating a middle-aged female celebrity's plastic surgery and tweakments, as well as their rapid weight loss, suggesting this fascination is actually the culture championing older women's beauty, alongside the self-loathing Gen Z TikTok trend of under 25s asking strangers to guess how old they are, bemoaning early signs of aging. Jeez, I don't even know what to say to this. I'm trying to think, what's her angle with this? So I think this is kind of just dooming. She's trying to be like, we have all these problems now because fat acceptance isn't as strong. All these things are getting worse because if fat acceptance goes, then everything else goes. I think that's what she's trying to do. Okay. See, I'm trying to look at it through different lenses. Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at it again. Okay. Even when trying to discuss serious issues like ED and frighteningly low weights of certain celebrities, thousands of fans have invoked body shaming to prevent any type of productive discussion under the banner of body positivity's core resolve. We should never talk about how another person looks. Yeah, and that's definitely been an issue with body positivity. We should be able to comment on if somebody is unhealthfully thin or unhealthfully fat. Ow, I just hit my knee. So that's a problem. But I think that's more about education. Like, I don't think you have to call out celebrities and like call people out and stuff. I think it's just more about education. Like, for example, that sort of ideal body fat percentage for a woman is 25%. But a healthy body fat percentage can be as high as like 32, for example. That's an attainable standard. Okay, like that's not anything crazy. And obviously you can also have it a bit lower than 25 if you want to have like abs and all that stuff and like go in that kind of lane. But remember that there are certain limits, you know, on either end of that. And it's okay to have variation. It's okay to have, you know, women who are curvier or whatever at like 32% and women who have abs or whatever. You know, I don't know what the lower end of that is, but it goes the same for men. Like for men, I think it's a little bit different. It's like 25% or lower is healthy. Not or lower, but you know, 25% is healthy. I think you have to have, I can't remember what the lowest amount is for a man, but it's pretty low. See, I don't even pay attention to that side of the spectrum because I'm not even in that wavelength. But I'll cover that later. But just remember, like, that's what I'm pushing in terms of this. Like, if you want to go further than that, or if you want to be like in top tier shape or whatever, that's totally fine. But that sort of standard is just that healthy standard of like 32% for a woman, 25%, or technically 24.9, but that's just kind of like whatever for men. It's technically lower than that, but it's like, that's all. We're not trying to be like, everybody has to have a six pack and all that stuff. You don't have to have that to be healthy. That's true. You don't. But you can if you want to. You see what I'm saying? You can have it, and that's okay. So I think we have to just like shift that narrative. It's hard. It's hard because I think in order to shift that, you kind of have to fight people on both sides. It's just going to be tough. Sorry, I'm just thinking about my own trajectory. I'm like, oh gosh. But I do like to do these videos where I talk to you guys about the activism itself, or where I talk to you about the messaging and stuff, because it's important, and it's a Sunday. So I figure like the real ones will be here, that kind of thing. So let me know what you guys think. I'm so interested in your thoughts on this. I really am. Because I don't know that I have all the answers for these things that this article is talking about. Okay. All this together has made space for an insidious, inescapable argument making its way back into the mainstream, where many are now encouraging women to prioritize skinniness above all else. Okay, so they're going to frame health as skinniness. That's important. So, okay, she's trying to push that button, encouraging women to prioritize skinniness above all else. That's a button. Because again, in the past, there have been skinniness standards that are not realistic. So she's trying to push that button to be like, so you should support women being 400 pounds. That's what she's trying to do. So they're going to use that, okay, using the word skinny, right? So it's also the language. Flipping body positivity language back on itself by using its self-care underpinnings to rebrand thinness as a health issue. It's not that thinness is a health issue, it's that obesity is. Let's be real. I get so much more joy from looking lean, feeling lean, or quote, I get so much more joy from looking lean, feeling lean, waking up in the morning and loving what I see in the mirror. One TikTok user said in a viral post of this ilk, which has been viewed more than 7 million times. Quote, you have to prioritize yourself, how you look, how you feel over food. I have one life in this body, so why would I not want to treat it the best I can and look the best I can? Looks fade, but so does your health, so take care of you. There is nothing wrong with advocating for taking care of yourself. I'm just going to say that flat out. There is nothing wrong with that. That is crazy to try to act like that's a bad statement or a bad idea. The only thing that I don't like about this is this piece, how you look. I think how you feel, it should be focused on the physical health side. So how you feel health-wise. That's very important. But emotions can go up and down in a weight loss journey. Emotions can go up and down in recovery. So not emotionally. So those two I don't like. And remember, food is not a bad thing, but obsessing over it. So, yeah, I think a better message would be overeating. Mm-hmm. Something like that. So it's just like a little bit of a tweak, in my opinion. That's my critique. But, yeah. Okay, but overall, pretty good. What we've had what we've had confirmed isn't just that the male gaze has remained effectively as dominant as ever, but that there is a core portion of the population who happily benefit from this hierarchy, who are only bent to social pressure during the height of the body positivity movement to feign a desire to subvert it. Who only bent to social pressure to feign a desire to subvert it. Okay. I don't even know if that makes sense. Okay, so they're going to frame it as if you're losing weight, you're just doing it for men. Which we've seen that a lot, but I think they're going to lean heavier into that. So remember always, this is something I will say about not body positivity specifically, but fat acceptance. Fat acceptance is obsessed with hierarchy. They are absolutely obsessed. They are so invested in the body hierarchy existing. And I am very much against it. Like I said, the goal of this channel is to help make health and getting out of obesity more accessible to more people so that the hierarchy doesn't exist anymore. They want it to stay. So they're very much like, if you're fat, you better know your place. You better shut up. And if you get out, you better shut up. Because we don't want anybody else knowing how to get out. That's kind of how they are. That's like the underpinning of it. So this is a total gaslight, in my opinion. Okay, so I guess she's saying that some people, a core portion of the population, benefited from the hierarchy and bent to social pressure while it was supposedly popular, which fat acceptance was not. No, I can't say it wasn't popular. It still is, technically. It kills me to say it. It kills me. It really does. I hate it. But it is. It's dying, though. It's not as popular. But the question I have to ask you guys is, think of all the fat people you know in your life. How many of them believe that weight loss is possible? How many of them believe that weight loss is possible and it's worth pursuing? That's where you get to the, ooh. Yeah, fat acceptance is popular. In America, at least. So we do have to do a lot of work culturally on this issue. It's horrible. Okay, anyways. Okay. Okay. So she's saying they pretended they wanted to get rid of the hierarchy while it was popular. And now they're like, we're back. But that was actually them. That was fat acceptance. So that was a little bit of a projection. Okay. And while patriarchy is to blame for the standards, men aren't the only ones enforcing them. Okay. So turn against women. Interesting. Okay. That's very interesting. So I think what they're going to do probably, if this article is representative of the movement, which I feel like it's somewhat representative, they're going to heavily attack women that don't support fat acceptance, probably even more than they already have been. Jeez. You only need to spend a few minutes in these spaces on Instagram and TikTok to discover it's not just Andrew Tate type figures pushing this message, but millions of normal women telling each other to do more to try to be traditionally beautiful. Wow. See, she's good. I think they might lean in on this. And I think that is a sticky... Look at how she ended it with that. So definitely help me with some messaging on this, because I think that's the sticky point that I'm concerned about. We have to fight that. Doing so by parroting the exact language that 10 years ago they would have used to argue for the opposite. Wow, what a bitter article. Oh, it's not even done yet. Okay. Not me thinking it was the end. This isn't a view of the whole picture. There will be, as there always have been, a not insubstantial minority of women still pushing back against diet culture and arguing for a radical deconstruction of the beauty industry. Okay, so this is kind of like the rallying cry. There will be others pushing back in quieter ways by simply and thoughtfully disengaging with these standards. It is also true that the women championing thinness as body positivity suffer from the same social pressures which make it difficult to untangle our lives from the desire to be skinny. So basically, if you women don't support fat acceptance, then you're just brainwashed. If you don't support it, then you're just bowing to social pressure. You're not radical enough. You're not cool. You're not cool like us. Jeez. As if there aren't, like, gosh, as if there doesn't need to be a new way of looking at this, you know? I have to be clear with you guys. I am not trying to go back to the 2000s on this channel. Like, no way. We're trying to get rid of toxic ritualistic to the best of our ability, not change it back to the thin one. That's not at all what I'm interested in doing. We need the craziness to stop. So we're going to actually be the ones that are radical. Okay? But that means, gosh, I guess, you know, they're really going to go after the women. Jeez. Okay. Well, it's good to know. It's good to know. Okay. But we cannot feign ignorance that we are helpless against the thinness obsession, or that the answer to these challenges is total capitulation to the system that oppresses us and spinning this somehow as empowerment. So it's like we have to understand that those women are brainwashed, but we can't pretend that we don't know they're brainwashed. So it's like you have to do something about it, you see? Ooh. Gosh. 2024 marked our official exit from the body positivity movement, an ultimately brief blip of a decade with little suggestion that will make a serious return. But there is hope in learning that this movement was never our salvation. In place of the saccharine, we deserve the resolute, the radical, and the specific that can produce something lasting. Jeez. What do you guys think is coming next? Because I don't think it's done. I don't. A lot of people, they're like, it's dead, it's dead. It's dying. It's at a low point. But I don't think it's done. So I think what I learned from this is they're really going to be leaning into gender, or really, really leaning into women, especially women. I feel like they're really leaning into women, particularly. So we're going to have to understand that and not let them. Okay? So let me know your thoughts. I really hope you guys have some thoughts on this. I really want to read them. But thank you so much for watching. We got through. But I will talk to you guys later. Have a good rest of your day, night, etc. Peace. I'll see you tomorrow.